Let's bring on my friend Bill Simmons, ringer, founder, entrepreneur, all that stuff. Well, look at you. You look fantastic. You look like a...
Hey, I'm too close to the camera.
No, you're just perfect. You look like a guy that's got scoops. All right, let's start with this. You have been critical before of Aaron Rodgers, and I've said this. This is something that just happens in the NFL ecosystem. We fall in love with Marino because of his talent. We fall in love with Favre because of his talent. And we fall in love with Mahomes because of his talent. But it's Bart Starr, Joe Montana, Brady, disciplined, coachable, great coach that win championships. And we've gotten to a point with Aaron Rodgers. I know he's talented. But there was a stretch here, Bill, where if you criticized him, it was a hot take. And I've never loved one quality about him. What makes Brady great is his ability to relate to an undrafted free agent, a rookie, take pay cuts, and it never gets credit because he doesn't look as dramatic, as enticing as Aaron. I don't like Aaron the leader. And so when I hear this story today, I'm like, this is on brand. He's manipulating the press. He's doing what's best for him. You know, Joy just said this. At least Cole Beasley's like, I'm not doing it. All right, I know where you stand. I'll avoid you in the bathroom, okay? Like the Aaron lying thing, manipulating, it bothers me. Does it bother you?
Well, I was driving around today, and I heard you talking about it, and I thought, like, what a great day for Colin. Colin's been on this for years. I've dabbled, too. I think we live in this weird culture now when if you're critical of sports, anyone in sports, any athlete, coach, whatever, you immediately become a hater. There's no nuance with any of this stuff. I think Rodgers is a diva. I think he's been a diva the last couple of years. I thought the way he handled this whole offseason was very diva-ish. He didn't seem like a team-first guy to me. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why he chose the week of the NFL draft to blow it up into an even bigger story.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, some of the points you've made over the years, when you talk about ex-teammates, how people who've played with him, some of the people, how they've talked about him, how candid he's been about them drafting another quarterback when he's in his late 30s, how he makes it seem like he's on the 2021 Jaguars when he's on a good team.
Right.
His team's good. His team's been good the last couple of years. They were really good last year. They almost made the Super Bowl. And this woes me stuff. I'm going to go even deeper. I think sometimes people get weird when they get older. And I'm not saying always, but sometimes people who are single, they start to become a little narcissistic.
Yeah.
And they start seeing everything through this lens of me. What about me? What about me? Everything's about me. And to me, he just seemed like a classic narcissist the last year where everything was somebody else's fault. He took no responsibility. He honestly seemed to think he was going to be the Jeopardy host, which was insane. They were never making him the Jeopardy host. And everything he did, I thought, kind of compromised his team. And, from personal experience, I remember in 96 when the Patriots made the Super Bowl, probably a year before they should have. And Parcells' last year. And Parcells had a bunch of stuff going on with Bob Kraft. And he let that stuff affect the team. He leaked stuff to Will McDonough, who was a Boston Globe columnist, who was one of his best friends, leaked that they were having this rift. And it really submarined the Super Bowl. And it became this big story and this big distraction. They ended up losing the Packers. Should they have lost anyway? I don't know. But it was selfish. It was narcissistic. And I think some of the stuff Rodgers has done over the last year just seems narcissistic. So when you throw in everything today, it's like, yeah, that's on brand for what we've seen.
Yeah. By the way, that thing you've talked about, I haven't talked about it a lot on the air. I think I've talked about with Joy, is when you're married and have kids, you're constantly sacrificing. And when you are older and single and powerful and rich, I don't know if the word is weird, but your prism becomes you. You're the sun. Everybody else is just a small moon around your galaxy. And I do think Aaron has gotten into a kind of a narcissistic thing where I heard him last week talking about, I'm above all this criticism. And I'm like, no, you're in the middle of it. You're part of us. We're all sports. Me. Okay, so let me segue to this.
Well, wait, hold on. Just one last piece on that.
All right.
Look, it only happens sometimes, but I'm sure you have either friends of your wife or something that you look at them and everything is about, as you get older, everything becomes about a routine. When you have like kids, you're constantly taking losses. You're constantly bending. You're constantly doing things that you don't want to do or you're taking one for the team over and over again. And that's my point with that. It's just like, I think as some celebrities that we've seen, and it's not just athletes, sometimes it's actors, sometimes it's singers, the people who they're kind of in charge of everything that they do and it's just them. weird stuff starts to happen. It doesn't always happen, but sometimes. And this was weird. It's weird that he said he was vaccinated when he wasn't.
Yeah. So OBJ. So my thing is, it didn't work. The data said it didn't work. It's okay to say it didn't work. It's not a hot take. We've been saying it for 2 years. It doesn't work. Okay. Sometimes a young quarterback and a star receiver, he feels he has to throw to him. This was Dak and Dez. I remember saying on the air, Dak needs the ability to throw to who he wants to, not get yelled at in the sideline when he doesn't throw to Dez. He's better without him, even though Dez is remarkable. So I never thought it worked. But I will say this. There are 2 teams in this league that have a great coach, great coordinators, great defense, good special teams. I think they're going to make the playoffs. They both have one flaw. No over-the-top dynamic. Saints and Patriots. OBJ to the Patriots. It's not crazy, right?
It fits the Belichick profile. He's bet on talent over and over again, right? Moss was the best case version of how it worked out. Probably the worst case was Ocho Cinco, who was single covered in the Super Bowl. And they didn't even have the safety shading over. They just left him alone on one side of the field. He's had Albert Hainsworth. There's a bunch of talented guys that they've taken looks at. I actually, usually I feel like I have takes on this stuff. I thought Beckham's looked bad this year. And then you watch that YouTube clip and he does seem like he's open a lot. And I'm not a huge Baker fan. I know you're not either. I think he's fine. If you switched him and Case Keenum and switched their jerseys, I honestly would have trouble telling who was who. But Beckham's hurt a lot. And, you look at it and you go, all right, what are his wins? What's the best team he's ever been on? When was the last time he was really dominant? And it's been a couple of years, and why does he keep getting hurt? How come? It's like Anthony Davis is another one. And Anthony Davis is way better than Odell. But every time I watch a Laker game, Anthony Davis is rolling around on the floor at least once, right? And some guys, that's just who they are when they're playing sports. Beckham seems like he's hurt a lot. At the same time, the Pats have cap room. If Beckham gets waived, he's done things like this before. He always bets on the talent. And I think people always think Patriots way, how would he fit in? It's been the opposite. He bets on talent over and over again. And I think they would look at him.
I said with Mac Jones, my prediction was, I said, he is going to hit his ceiling much faster than everybody else. Don't be surprised if he's the best after 1 year. You'll see who he is. It'll be defined very clearly because the Patriots with Josh McDaniels, probably the best coordinator in the league. It's a very defined offense. They're not going to ask him a lot. So you're going to see who he is really quickly. May take Trevor Lawrence 4 or 5 years. My question has always been with Mac is, if it's not on script, you're not getting any bonus yards here. But am I wrong?
Oh, that's a cheap shot. I don't like that.
Okay. So
how dare you?
Okay. So
Mac's been really good this year.
He's been really good for the last 14 quarters. He's gotten out of the terrible throw.
He's a rookie. Look at the other rookies. He's been way more consistent than every other rookie quarterback we've had.
Can you win?
Not even close.
Can you win a playoff game with Mac Jones?
I think you could. I do. And I'll tell you this. Patriots 30-1 on FanDuel right now to win the AFC.
Come on.
Let's go through the AFC teams. Tell me what AFC team you like. All right,
Buffalo.
You say the Bills.
Buffalo.
Okay. All right. Who's owned Buffalo over the last 20 years? What human being has owned them? Owned them. Bill Belichick. Ravens. Do you trust their defense? I don't.
Not their pass defense.
Kansas City. Have you liked what you've seen?
No.
I don't.
No.
Do you like the Raiders or Chargers? I don't. Baker's got one arm. Cross them off. Steelers have Roethlisberger. No thanks. Go through the teams. Tennessee. No Derrick Henry. The Colts. Carson Wentz. I'm getting ideas, Colin. I'm going to be honest. I'm getting ideas. This is starting to feel 2001-ish to me.
This is an interesting pivot, Ed, because I do think and I said this against Chicago in the first half. I came on the air Monday, and I'm like, that's the best Tom Brady's thrown a ball in a decade. I thought he was unbelievable against Chicago, and I'm like, is it the humidity in Tampa? He threw darts into tiny, tiny windows. For a long time, I honestly thought this. I didn't talk about this on the air. He's married to a supermodel. I figured she had potions or something overseas. In the off season, he'd go and do some stuff, and it'd be like, he had this advantage over everybody medically and some stuff. Maybe it was legal over there. I mean, I got to a point where I don't even understand it. He doesn't even look like he looks younger. He's like, his face looks younger. What do you make of his longevity?
I mean, going back to weird quarterbacks, the Brady thing's weird too. He's 44. He was on with the Mannings, a week ago?
Yeah.
The Mannings, who were his peers. Eli came into the league, I think 4 years after Tom did. And Peyton was like 2 years before. And they were like the old farts on the couch with like Brady's younger brother was on the show. Only it was Brady. Brady looks like he's like coming out of, I don't know, some Netflix show. And I don't get it. He moves better than he's ever moved.
Ever.
In the pocket, he's spry. His deep ball, which is something that the Pats fans, as much as we love Brady, the hole in the Brady game for a couple years there was just consistency on deep balls.
Yeah.
That's back. Like his deep ball hasn't looked this good in 10 years. And it's a total fountain of youth thing. I do think there's more advantages with some of this stuff now. I think the science, we've seen it with LeBron too. LeBron passed 60,000 minutes already in the NBA. There's, I don't know if you've ever done cryotherapy, Colin. Have you done cryotherapy?
No, I've been offered it. My son's done it. I've had
Joy. Can you make sure Colin does cryotherapy? I really want his reaction.
What did you do it
after? I've done it a few times. You walk out of there and you feel like you came out of a time machine, and it makes me think like all the advantages that these dudes have now. They're not flying coach in 1977, like with the person next to them smoking cigarettes and wearing crappy sneakers. They're like, this is like science has changed sports for the most part for the better, I think. And Brady, the fact that he's better than he was 4 years ago makes no sense. And yet he is.
Oh, they did.
I actually think it's indisputable.
Oh, no, listen, if you go to his release, it is indisputably fractions of a second faster.
And he moves better. His left to right movement is just better.
His velocity, according to Greg Cosell, is better. And if you go look at the first half against Chicago, and again, maybe he's more limber because of the humidity in Tampa, the ball he was throwing was 33-year-old Tom Brady. It had so much in little tiny windows. All right, 2 NBA topics. Bill Simmons for
Colin, I'm going to be so mad at you when I'm listening 2 weeks from now, and you're like, I'll tell you who looks like a sleeper in the AFC, the Patriots. 15-1 on FanDuel. I'm just telling you. I'm telling you. I'm planting my flag on the show with Patriots AFC.
All right. Go ahead with NBA. Speaking of youth, doesn't Bill look good today?
Thanks,
California
Colin.
sun.
No, you do. You look.
Thanks, Colin.
You look very good. So, 2 topics. The Celtics play crappy defense, although nobody plays great defense early in the NBA. But it is interesting. The Brad Stevens thing, it got too much criticism. They did get to the Eastern Conference. Ainge didn't hit in a lot of these draft picks. I still think Brad's super smart. But I look at the Celtics now with the way Miami's playing, with the depth and confidence of Milwaukee, and if Philadelphia can engineer anything for Simmons, and I think Celtics aren't a championship team. I feel like
championship team. Are they a playoff team? I don't know if they're a playoff team, Colin. I think they're going to be in the play-in tournament. It's
what happened.
Something. Stevens was a really good coach. I think he got burned out on the roster and vice versa. I'm okay with him leaving. I get it. New coach comes in. He's learning on the fly. Defensively, they're a train wreck.
Yes.
I think they're 30th in points allowed.
Yeah, they're bad.
And I said this on my podcast today. To put this in perspective, they've allowed more points than OKC, who starts Poku or plays Poku like 20. Have you seen Poku? Poku plays 20 minutes a game for OKC, and the Celtics allow more points than OKC, who's intentionally trying to lose. They're trying to go like 8-64. It's 74. So the defense has been bad. They don't have a real point guard. And, we're really starting to ask the questions now, the Boston fans, about we love Tatum, we love Brown. I wanted those guys to stay together forever. And now watch them over and over. It's like, are these guys redundant with each other? Do they make each other better? Do they make sense as a combo? Like Bird and McHale is like the peak of a combo in Celtics history, right? Those guys were perfect together. McHale would cover the other team's best offensive player. Bird was the best entry passer, probably in the history of the league. He could spread the floor for him. They were on the same page. It was perfect. And Tatum and Brown, it's a lot of like dueling banjos. It's a lot of your turn, my turn, and a lot of standing around. And I think people are starting to get concerned. Meanwhile, you look at the stats, they're averaging like 54, 55 points a game. And you think like on paper, that looks great. But if you're watching it, it doesn't feel right, and the mix doesn't feel right. I do think they should. There's some rotation stuff and things like that. I'm not ready to panic yet, but I'm kind of quietly panicking.
Well, and also, for the first time in 20 years, the East is better than the West because Chicago's really, really good. Miami's added Lowry. He's a little banged up. So the first time in 20 years, I honestly believe this, is that because the West is aged, Portland doesn't look right. I think the East is better than the West. And that's
Clippers, no Murray, no Kawhi.
And so Utah's got a low ceiling, but they're a great regular season team. So I think that's...
don't let those fans come at you.
They like me in Utah.
Be careful. Watch out for those Utah fans.
No, I ski there. They're like
mobilizing. They apologize right now.
All right, finally. I said this. There are some things it takes a while for me as a broadcaster to tell the difference between good and very good and very good and great. When you watch The Voice or a music show, I'm like, that's pretty good, but is it great? It's great, but is it... But bad is obvious on any music show and in any sports team. And I watch the Lakers defensively. They are so slow. They're not only old on the starters, they're old on the bench. And I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, but it's a spacing league. I don't think the Lakers, I look at them and I'm like, that's not a championship team. You can't defend right? You're seeing the same thing.
Yeah, but now you're going to get Colin, you're a hater.
No, they're
You just don't like LeBron.
They're old.
It's like, guess what? You won the title in the bubble 3 years ago, and you had 3 pretty good to elite wing defenders who none of them are on the team now. Danny Green, KCP, Caruso. They had the ability to defend on top and make enough 3-point shots on top of the Davis-LeBron combo. Now it's basically just a Davis-LeBron combo.
Yes.
And that might be enough in the West. But to me, this feels like a 2018 Cavs situation. Remember the 2018 Cavs where it was Isaiah Thomas, Jay Crowder, Dwayne Wade. They had all that. And then by February, half the team had been traded, and they made Jordan Clarkson and Larry Nance. All these different people came in because the team didn't work. I don't think this is the team that we're going to see in March. I'm not positive what the moves are, but the one thing that I know is that I don't think they can move off Westbrook. And I am not convinced he makes sense with LeBron and Davis. I hated the trade when it happened. I think they would have been better off with KCP and Buddy Hield. And they would have a defender and shooting. And I just think Westbrook, they're like, no, he'll really help us during the regular season. I don't care about the regular season. You got to win 4 playoff rounds, and he's a really hard guy to have on the floor if you're trying to win 4 playoff rounds.
Oh, yeah.
We have how many years of evidence now of this? Like he needs the ball to succeed, and he is not a good defensive player. He's just not. So I think they're flawed. But as you said, the West is so much worse. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it's just like, who are the best 2 guys, and maybe that's who makes it out of the West. I like Golden State the most, but it's early. I
like them too.
We're going to change our opinion a million times.
I know.
Over the next 6 months. I think Denver has to be at least mentioned because of the level that Jokic is playing right now. I mean, he went up a level. He won the MVP last year. He's better this year.
I think Jordan Poole's interesting. If Clay comes back and gives me 90% of Clay, Steph's still at an MVP level. Draymond offensively is better. I actually like Golden State to win the West this morning, if you ask me. Okay.
One more piece. What? They have trades to make.
Yes,
they
right.
Have Kuminga. They have Wiseman. They have the Wiggins contract. That's a team that's positioned to add a piece if they need to do it. So I think they're the safest bet, but betting against LeBron and Davis makes me nervous.
All right. So he has a podcast today. You know about the Bill Simmons pod. And, first of all, it was great seeing you. We only talk a couple times a year. It was great seeing you at the wrestling event. You look very healthy.
Well, we share joint custody of Russillo. So I think we talk a lot about that.
Good seeing you, buddy. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.